terrible start. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Drive Pink Dialogue. I'm your host, Scotty, and today I am joined by a special guest to recap yesterday's 5-3 loss to the Chicago Fire. I'm in a great mood over the last 45 minutes as my favorite baseball team just won a must-win game, and now I remembered that we have to talk about this loss from last night. So I will adjust my mood in a second, but first I want to introduce Kris from the Battered Herons as our guest for tonight, and he's going to help me break this game down, and we'll give out some awards and all that fun stuff. So before anything else, how are you feeling tonight, and how's life, man?
Everything's good. Thank you for having me on, and congrats to you. At least right now, the Yankees are ahead of the Red Sox by 1 run so far at the top of the ninth, so we'll see how that goes.
I think it just went final, so we survive another day.
Yes.
Anyways, Inter Miami, because it's maybe not so bright in Inter Miami's world. They had a legitimate chance to make the Supporter Shield, to win the Supporter Shield as of 48 hours ago, and I think that ended last night in disappointing fashion. 5-3 loss to the Chicago Fire. Before we get into this game, because I do want to have some bigger picture conversations with you, and so we'll kind of fly through what actually happened. Where were you at in terms of Inter Miami before yesterday's game? Did you feel good about the Supporter Shield? Did you feel good about their chances to win the MLS Cup? Did you feel good about the team? How are you feeling about everything before yesterday's game?
Well, it's a weird place because before yesterday's game, the Inter Miami tied against Toronto, which isn't a good look when you're playing against a team that's sitting at the bottom of the East. So I didn't feel particularly comfortable with that kind of performance. And I don't feel comfortable. Like at this point, well, before yesterday's game, I thought to myself, the Supporter Shield is out of the window. We need to worry about MLS Cup, try to get as high as we can on the table, but not worry about obtaining the Supporter Shield as if it's a necessity.
So then maybe yesterday's game maybe didn't affect you so much because we did rotate, we didn't play our best players, and if you were kind of thinking, let's focus on being ready for the playoffs, maybe you were mentally prepared for yesterday in a way that I know I certainly wasn't. But I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
It's a weird place because selfishly, like as a season ticket holder, I'm hoping that they get as high as they can so I could watch every single playoff game at home. And obviously having home field advantage is going to be fantastic for Inter Miami. But in all essence, I believe with this team, home or away, with the quality of players that we have, I don't understand how we can lose in the playoffs. It shouldn't happen. But the fact that we're taking a loss, Toronto's tie actually worries me more than Chicago's beating us up, because Chicago actually has a really good front three that on a good day can beat a lot of teams.
Yeah, we'll get into Chicago. I will say I'm always a little more forgiving for a draw or a loss on the road because you do have to travel. You are playing on an unfamiliar surface. The Chicago team, listen, they do have a good front three, but they didn't start 2 of them. So
yeah,
I don't know if that really factors in. But let's get into the game because I want to go through some of these goals, but really I want to talk about the season at large and where we go from here, and we have to give out some awards and all that stuff. So let's get right into it. 11th minute, the game kind of kicks off. It's a corner for Chicago. Jay Davella, their defensive midfielder, a young player, a U22, a promising young player, I think, just beats Yannick Bright to the spot on a corner and gets what ends up looking pretty simple of a header into the corner. I don't know if there's anything Ustari could have done, but not a great start to this game. But also, in my opinion, it's one of those goals that a team's going to allow over the course of a season.
Well, we're really bad on set plays. That's just the cat's out the bag with that, right? But one of the things that kind of worries me, aside from the fact that Bright just wasn't physical enough on that set play, but if you look back at the replay, Luis Suárez was like a chin hair away from being able to do something, get in the way, change his positioning. and he didn't really do anything on that play either, even though it's not expected as a person like Luis Suarez. He's not like a defensive juggernaut, but at the same time, you got to, if you don't have a man that you're on, then you got to throw yourself somewhere. So
Yeah, I will say they scored 5 goals yesterday. 3 of them were incredibly concerning for me. 2 of them not so much. Obviously, the goal at the end that we'll talk about was just an incredible goal by Gutierrez. But this first one also, as you said, we are not a great defensive set piece team. Hopefully, they go into training and work on it. I'm not entirely confident that they do, but it's sort of the run of play in a way that doesn't necessarily mean Inter Miami's playing horrible. The other team gets a set piece goal. That I think I can forgive much easier than some of these other goals we're about to talk about. And let's get to the next one, because here's where it really starts to become a problem. You know, a set piece or a corner kick is a simple play. Some of these other ones become really complex, and there's failures across the board. 31st minute, the ball goes to Rominge Kwame, and Rodrigo de Paul tries to make a play at it, but he whiffs and ends up taking himself out of position. Kwame is able to turn and put a through ball in to Jonathan Dean. And if you go back and watch this play, Gonzalo Lujan could not have played this ball any worse. First, he tries to make sort of a lateral interception, is nowhere near that, and then he's completely dusted for pace, and it gives Jonathan Dean, who's not a starter, who's not a great player for them, he's the guy that's coming in because they are rotating, drives straight into the box. Busquets is the last man. He kind of tries to take Hugo Kuipers out of the play, and does, for his credit. But that leaves Jonathan Dean one-on-one with Oscar Ustari, and he bounces it right off his leg and in. This one really was concerning because you see the lack of midfield. You see the lack of recovery from Inter Miami's defense. You see, again, Gonzalo Lujan making a bad read on the ball. And then also Oscar Ustari, I think he has to make that save based on the final product of Jonathan Dean. So it felt like failures kind of across the board for Inter Miami that led to a second goal. And for Inter Miami, 1-goal deficit, I think we all feel comfortable they can come back from. But once it starts to be 2-0 in the first half, you start to get the sense that it might not be Inter Miami's game.
I mean, that was a fantastic pass to begin with. The fact that Gonzalo Lujan sort of, and it's weird because he does like a curve in order to try to catch up to the to Bamba. And instead of sort of holding the line with Busquets or just turning and burning, he does like a weird turn in order to sort of try to keep up with Bamba. And it's like you said, he gets dusted completely. And at that point, when you have him approaching Ustadi one-on-one, Ustadi's not the best goal saver or ball saver on the planet. So he was just cooked from the get.
Yeah, even for Ustari's sake, though, I think that one was on the more egregious side. But you nailed it with Lujan. I think this is the real problem with that, the biggest problem with that play. He looks like he's going to take a sidestep and intercept this pass, and it was clear he did not have good understanding of where Jonathan Dean was on that play as he was making his run. Had no chance of making that interception. The play was much farther wide than Lujan was going to make a play on it. And then because he takes that, left turn where he takes 3 steps to his left first, he doesn't have the recovery pace to even be competitive or make himself a factor in that play. So really, I thought a poor breakdown from the midfield and from Ustari and from Lujan. Kind of problems across the board.
Nolan Jensen's commenting here, and he's saying Lujan has to stop stepping to the ball every time. I feel like his mind thinks that he can cut the play off every time. And as a person defending on Inter Miami, knowing that everyone is pushing up so high and you might be that one guy on the island, you need to run back for cover. You can't be stepping up there thinking you're going to intercept the play. You're completely outnumbered. So that was a big mistake by Gonzalo Lujan.
Yeah, and he, as we've talked about on this show a million times, he does that a lot. And maybe Noah Allen can get away with it because he's incredibly quick. Maybe Toto Aviles, who's got that long speed, can get away with it. Lujan doesn't have the pace to get away with that, even in sort of when the team is playing a little bit deeper and playing a little bit more conservative. He still gets beaten that. So when we're playing high, you're absolutely right. Inter Miami does sort of get one back in the 39th minute. It's off a corner from Inter Miami, in-swinger from Messi. kind of bobbles around Busquets, Chris Brady, does hit Lujan and eventually hits the foot of Toto Aviles and then off of Jay Devella. It was a real pinball of sorts in the box, but ultimately Inter Miami gets the goal. I will just say on this play, Inter Miami does not score a lot of goals from set pieces if it's not a Messi free kick. So it was nice to see them put the ball in a dangerous area and have something good come of it.
Well, and not only that, but how inconvenient is it for Brady that he was sitting on his butt right at the near post. Then the moment he gets on his feet, he steps away from the near post, and that's exactly where the ball creeps right through. And so just unlucky on Chris Brady's part. And it's just like Mascherano said in the last post-game press conference, not this one, but the one before, when you have a ball that's just floating in the danger area, that's just not good for business. And at some point, the ball's going to get in the back of the net in a sloppy way. And it worked out for Toto Aviles. I believe it was like his second goal this year. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he might have a few more if he played a few more minutes. But
yeah.
Also, we've seen him score from headers and be dangerous on set pieces, but sometimes you just have to be in the right spot at the right time. And I don't know how you feel about this, but we see Messi try a lot of Olympicos. We see them go short a lot. We don't really see them just put the ball into dangerous areas a ton. And here we do it, and it works out beautifully for Inter Miami. So maybe something they should try a little bit more often.
I think so, especially with the punctuality that Messi has on his passes. I'm actually surprised we don't do it more often, especially when you have bigger bodies in the box. Whenever you have Frey or Aviles or Allende, someone that's a little bit taller and a little bit more athletic, I feel like that's a recipe for success, especially on set pieces. You can be dangerous off of that. And that's with Messi taking the corner. Imagine if you put him out in the top of the box and you have Jordi Alba taking the corner. He's another great passer.
Yeah. They do want to play their style. And then it does feel like when they really want a goal, that's when they get a little bit more aggressive in putting the ball into the box and hoping for something good to happen. We see that in their biggest games, and then obviously down 2-0 last night, they went for it. Of course, that 2-1 lead or deficit did not last long, just 4 minutes until another Chicago goal. This is another one that I thought really Inter Miami should feel bad about. If you go back and watch this play, it looks for a moment like it's a 5-on-5. Both De Paul and Telasco Segovia do not put in the effort to keep up with it. I clearly don't understand the numbers that are in front of them, and so suddenly it becomes a 5-on-3. Gonzalo Lujan tries to step up and stop it. He gets passed right around. The ball lands at Romingue Kwame, who does this little crossover on Toto Aviles. Aviles is off balance, and so is Oscar Ustari, and so he slots that ball. Kwame slops that ball into the right side of the post, and Ustari, who's leaning to one side, just isn't even able to make an attempt at the ball. So all of a sudden, Inter Miami's down 3-1 going into halftime, and it's bad vibes for Inter Miami. We've seen this team be so Jekyll and Hyde this season, and even though just last week against NYCFC it was as high as it's been for months, here we are a week later, and it maybe is as low as it's been in months as well. How are you feeling at halftime?
I mean, at halftime, I wasn't feeling great. And speaking in terms of that goal itself, I thought that it was utterly disrespectful. The pace of jogging that De Paul and Segovia were doing in trying to catch up to the play, because I felt like there was enough time with the touches and passes that they could have been able to come in the last minute and at least make one of the players nervous. But the fact that they literally jogged to the point where they became out of screen while watching this game on TV, that's disastrous.
Yeah,
that's unacceptable completely.
I agree, and not only on that play, but I think that was the theme of this entire game.
First half.
Two, throw in Busquets, throw in Yannick Bright. Maybe not so much for Busquets, but there was a real inability to get back defensively, I think, from this team that allowed 4 goals. I won't blame that last one on them. That was just a wonder shot. Anyways, going to the second half, Inter Miami comes out and is ultra aggressive. You thought they were playing high in the first half. they double the pace in the second half, and it starts to pay off. There's a moment where Suárez puts the ball into Messi, and Messi kind of dummies the ball, thinking Chris Brady would try and block Messi's shot, and it might just roll in. It doesn't, but you can see the team starting to get some opportunities. There's an Ian Frey shot. By the way, I should mention they make big substitutions at halftime, and they go with what I would consider their best team. Tadeo Allende comes in, Baltasar Rodriguez comes in, and Ian Frey comes in. And again, they start making it happen. There is a moment in the 52nd minute where Messi puts a shot on goal. Has a shot, hits the post. 6 seconds later, Tadeo Allende tries to score, hits the post. That was unbelievable. But again, Inter Miami is making things happen. That makes you feel like Inter Miami can get back in this game. And eventually they do in the 57th minute. Baltasar Rodriguez brings down a jump ball and has a really nice pass, nice vision, really nice hard turn to get that ball where he wants, puts it into the path of Luis Suárez, who bodies off the defender and has one of those sort of classic Luis Suárez bodies off the defender and kind of just understands how to curl that ball into the back corner, the far post. And Inter Miami's all of a sudden down 3-2 with a ton of momentum. They have their best players on the field. It's starting to feel like maybe there's something here.
Yeah, at that point, obviously you feel a little bit more confident because the better players stepped onto the pitch, and offensively we had all the right pieces in place at that point. And not only that, but Luis Suárez, the way that he manages his body and can be able to make certain runs at certain times, like that's just class that's irreplaceable. So to me, and Baltasar, the fact that he's like such a quick twitch player that can be able to kind of just turn on that dime and dish right in between two players, I thought was a fantastic play. And of course, it's going to make all the fans feel good because at that point, it's still early. We just got a goal and we still have the same squad on the pitch.
Yeah, and the other thing is that's in the 57th minute. Chicago makes a big substitution. 3 subs come on in the 60th minute. And we have seen, I'm thinking specifically against Seattle in the Leagues Cup final, but we've seen this a couple times where we kind of go all out early in the second half. We start to build some momentum. We start to get some opportunities on goal. The opposition makes a change, and they are able to stuff the midfield again and really play out of it. And then it does sort of peter out as we get into the second half of the second half. That doesn't happen. Chicago makes the subs in the 60th minute. Inter Miami takes about 2 or 3 minutes before they really start to figure it out. And they continue to pepper Chris Brady's goal for a number of opportunities until the 74th minute, where Jordi Alba finds Luis Suárez in a pocket of space just inside the 18-yard box. Suárez turns, and just as you mentioned, that sort of permanent class that he has, and just curls it into the far netting. And all of a sudden, this is Inter Miami establishing that they're the best team on the field. It's 3-3. They have all the momentum. The crowd is going crazy, and they are, of course, going to win this game. I'll just stop there because it was a really nice goal by Luis Suárez.
Well, and not only that, but typically on that kind of pass, you know that the recipient 9 out of 10 times is Messi, because he's always the one that's sort of waiting at the top of the box, if not near the top of the box, for that same pass. If it's not a low-driven pass, maybe like a higher cross. At that point, to be able to see Luis Suárez recognize that there was that space open, and that Messi's not in the area. I forgot to mention something earlier in the game. There was a point where Rodrigo de Paul stepped in the same space. It was, I think, in the 8th minute of the game. He had stepped into the same space as Messi, and quite possibly, if he wasn't there, Messi would have been able to have a good opportunity on goal. In this case, it worked out to our benefit because Luis Suárez recognized it, turned, and blasted it, and was able to get us the tying goal.
Yeah, I think you make an interesting point because, and I didn't think about this on my rewatch, that is Messi's lane. And if we could say anything about Messi's performance today or yesterday, it wasn't impressive. It wasn't confidence building. It wasn't one where he left feeling really great about himself. I think his last shot is the one he skied 30 yards high. I wonder if there's maybe an understanding from Suárez that this space will be open because Messi isn't feeling at his absolute best, and I can take advantage of that because we don't normally see him drop into that space on the field when Jordi Alba gets high up gets high and left. Interesting observation. I'd like that one a lot. I wonder what the response to that is. That said, and as Calyrex mentions in the chat, I feel great. Ton of confidence.
Everybody
Inter Miami is absolutely going to go win this game. Chicago took that confidence, as Calyrex mentions, and shatters it with a hammer. 80th minute, Messi has something of a sloppy giveaway. De Paul, again, just gets bypassed with no resistance. Noah Allen gets bypassed. He tries to make the recovery run, and he actually does make the recovery run. But Hugo Kuipers has the ball. He tries to put a pass into Gutierrez. It's another one where Ian Frey's making a diving save. He's on his butt trying to clear it. And then ultimately, sort of a letdown moment where De Paul kind of just watches Pineda take the ball to his left, and then he eventually pushes a low, hard cross to the far post for Justin Reynolds for a tap-in. Baltasar, I think, should have been covering that. They had enough bodies there, but the intensity in the box, Inter Miami had enough numbers, but they didn't have the intensity to really make it difficult. Aside from, I think, Ian Frey and Noah Allen, who deserve credit on that play. But Busquets, De Paul, and Baltasar, I think there was some real question marks about their effort in that moment. And it's 4-3, and you feel like, at least I felt like, maybe we can draw this game. But the win, the supporter shield, first place in the East, all of those things just died on that moment.
Well, and the worst part is that watching that play back, Baltasar is literally watching the play as we're watching it on TV. He's got front row seats that he's getting paid to be able to watch this play happen. Doesn't make any contact with anyone, doesn't defend anyone, doesn't try to man mark anyone. And the other part that really bothers me, and when we're talking about goalkeepers, right? And we're used to Drake Callender, who's a better shot stopper. He would have thrown his body in the middle of that low driving cross, and all Ustadi did was sweep the leg Karate Kid style and whiff completely. It just goes right past his leg for an easy entrance pass, and it's a trap time at that point.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to spend 45 minutes kind of rehashing the goalkeeping decision, but that's not Ustadi's strength. I think that's fair to say. And so if that's the case, I think as a defender, Baltasar in that moment, you kind of have to understand your goalkeeper is probably not going to bail you out. But you're right. I do think another goalkeeper would have been able to make a play on that. And then 3 minutes later, the real nail in the coffin, Brian Gutierrez with a wonder shot, 29 yards out. It's a thing of beauty. And if you didn't end up watching it because you turned the TV off, I recommend going to watch it just as a fan of the sport because it was something special. But ultimately, that's 5-3 and Inter Miami's done. It's over. It's a wrap.
Well, and the thing is, Scotty, I'm pretty sure that these players watch some sort of footage, get some sort of homework from all the assistants of assistant coaches that know that this guy can blast it Jean Mota style from anywhere. And the fact that he has 3.5 business days in order to be able to launch this bad boy past Ustadi, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I will say, I think if you're going to give up a goal like that, I can forgive it. Especially if we had won this game 3-1, I don't think we'd be worried about that goal. It's just the continuation of everything.
Yeah.
It's just a wonder goal, man. I don't want to point too much to this one moment because Brian Gutierrez, who you're right, has this in his locker. And I remember watching him do this when he was 18 with the US, CONCACAF champions for the under 20s doing this. It's just an amazing strike. I just want to admire it really and not criticize anyone on it. Okay.
Upcode is saying,
go ahead.
Upcode is saying RDP was on him there too, by the way. He's maybe like 9 feet minimum close to him. There's no way he is close. Some weird stuff was happening at the end of the game. You had Luis Suárez try a bicycle kick we're down like a goal or two. It's just weird.
Yeah. And again, that was the end of the game. I think once you go down by even a goal and you know you have to win, it's not in the cards to score 2 goals in that type of situation, especially with how Chicago was and Inter Miami was exhausted. So I want to have some bigger picture conversations, but that will require us wrapping up this game first. So before we go to awards, is there anything else about this game you wanted to mention or bring up or, talk about?
I do want to mention one thing. There's a lot of people that are giving credit to Mascherano for the substitutions made in the second half. I think I need everyone to fully understand that he had no other choice, and those were the pieces that were on the bench. So, of course, to bring more offense into the game since you're getting smashed and your defenders who are primarily defensive minded are not playing good defense, bringing on people like Segovia, Allende, and Ian Frey are not necessarily like brain buster decisions. So I don't know. I feel indifferent. Some people are saying that was a smart play by him bringing on all these players, but I think that he had really no other choice. And I give absolutely zero credit to Mascherano for bringing on those players.
I will say, and listen, everyone here knows that I'm not a Mascherano fan. I will give him, I don't want to say credit, but I think in terms of who I'm assigning blame to in this game, he's maybe 10th on the list. Those substitutes, he could have made them in the 60th minute. Instead, he goes right at halftime. The one that I really did like was the Noah Allen one, because Inter Miami does tie the game. It's 3-3. And the most likely player on your team to give a goal up is Gonzalo Lujan. And he said, I'm not dealing with that. He puts on Noah Allen, who has the recovery speed. So it didn't work out, obviously, but I think it could have been worse. And maybe that is a sign of progress for Mascherano. And also, I just thought there was a lot of sloppy moments from a lot of guys on this team, or lazy moments. I hate to use that word, but underwhelming.
And I feel like it's very lazy. Like Mascherano in the press conference was saying, this is 100% my fault. This is all my fault. And I think people have to be a little bit more critical on what the expectations are from these players. Like, yeah, as a coach, you messed up. First half, that's on you. But at the same time, there's an expectation of performance out of a lot of these players. And the fact that you're not getting that from people like Segovia, who's probably in the most competitive space in terms of for his position. And then you have Rodrigo de Paul with the highest expectation coming from Atletico Madrid. I just can't understand how people cannot be able to question not just Mascherano, but the players as well.
Yeah, especially in this game, because you saw poor touches, poor passes, lack of energy, lack of intensity. It was, it's on the players in a way that I don't think, at least in this game, is structural or tactical. Anyways, let's get to awards, because maybe we'll have some more of these conversations as we get into it.
Let's do it.
For those that haven't watched the podcast before, we give out 6 awards after every game: a Heron of the match, a Heron that flew north, and 2 individual awards each. And because I'm a gentleman, I thought I'd let you have the easy one, which is who gets the Heron that flew north. And I was going to take the hard one, and that's finding a player who played well in this game. A little sarcastic there, but I'm just going to do this one quickly. Luis Suárez, my man of the match. In the second half, he was the driving force of the comeback. It wasn't Lionel Messi. It wasn't Rodrigo de Paul. It wasn't Jordi Alba. It wasn't Luis Suárez. I'm sorry, it wasn't Sergio Busquets. It was Luis Suárez. 2 goals. I thought he had 1 or 2 moments that maybe could have been assists if Messi had a cleaner finish on him. He's the reason Inter Miami got this game to 3-3 and had a chance to go ahead and win it. He was my Heron of the match.
Well, I guess since we're going to go from the highest to lowest, for me, I'd say the Heron that flew north is Toto Avila.
Hold on.
Oh,
let's talk about Suárez for a second. It's okay. Let's sit on Suárez for a second. What did you think of his performance? Did you think he was, what did you think?
Listen, I've been a big supporter of Luis Suarez this season, especially with people thinking that people like Obando, who's still in an incubator, is going to make a big difference like he does. Like, there's no replacement for Luis Suarez. For as lazy as you guys see him, for as disrespectful he's been, spitting in people's faces, when we're talking about play on the pitch, in my opinion, other than Messi, he is the best creator up front. And to have that alongside Messi, to be able to assist and create with Messi and for Messi, I think is something that is irreplaceable. And Luis Suarez, in my opinion, deserves a little bit more credit than what a lot of fans are giving him.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think he has had a dip in his performance this year. I don't think there's any question about that. I do wonder how much of that is him versus Mascherano, but certainly some of it's him. But he's also still a really high quality player. And
Yeah.
I'm with you. Anyone that says, let's throw on Abondo, let's throw on Fafa at striker, that's not
Yeah.
what this is all about, really. Suarez isn't in the starting 11 because he's Luis Suarez. He's in the starting 11 because he's still a much better player.
Yeah.
We can have a question about rotation, but in terms of him being the guy, it's certainly Luis Suarez. Yeah. Okay, Kris, and if you want to make a special exception for this award name, you can. But this is the heron that flew north, and for those that don't know, Florida herons, they don't fly anywhere for the winter. So if you catch one flying north, you caught one doing that wrong thing. And in that vein, this award goes to...
It goes to Toto Aviles. Now, aside from the goal, to be honest, with Toto Aviles, it's basically an issue where, as a defender, right? The issue with the defender playing like in this fashion, it's just, unfortunately, he doesn't have that many opportunities, and he has to capitalize on that. And to play poor defense in this situation when the games are so important, to me, Toto Aviles definitely gets the Heron that flew north. And not only that, but I mean, it's easy to be able to give it to other players. But when you're talking about Aviles, who held that starting position consistently last year, completely lost it this year, and has the opportunity to make an impact, and he didn't, that's the reason that, in my opinion, he deserves the Heron that flew north. And he got a yellow card. That's a perfect observation.
Sean says Aviles got a yellow card and a goal. It was his perfect game. Yeah, I don't know if I would have given it to Toto Aviles. I think one of the problems Inter Miami had last night is they asked their defenders to do everything because the midfield really struggled in transition. And whatever you think of Toto Aviles and Gonzalo Lujan, that is difficult, especially for guys that haven't played a ton lately, especially Toto. Or in Lujan's case, he doesn't have the physical traits to really do that. He is obviously at fault for that third goal, I believe, where he kind of gets himself off balance and can't make a play. I think maybe he has some culpability on the second goal where he is pressing high. That said, he does score a goal. He gets his yellow card, which means he's feeling good. And he's a guy that hasn't played a ton of late, so maybe I wouldn't expect him to be in tremendous form. So I think it's a little tough, but that is your right, and I think we can live with it. That said, I do want to have a conversation about that, though, because this is something that I've been thinking about over the last 24 hours. I think that might be the last time we see Toto Aviles start a game for Inter Miami.
I believe so. I think I'm in agreement with you. And unfortunately, I feel that Lujan is above in ranking in Mascherano's eyes. And there's no way Falcon and Allen are going to lose the space to any other center back that's behind them, because they together play very well, especially in comparison to Lujan and Aviles. You could tell that Lujan, Aviles, and Segovia are not guys that, in my opinion, Mascherano is going to rely on for major minutes in the upcoming playoffs.
Yeah, I think maybe you'll see one of them for 7 minutes at the end of the game if we're trying to close something out. But in terms of starters, I think it's going to be Falcone and Noah Allen in a back four. And I think the emergency option is Gonzalo Lujan. But I guess I want to know, because we don't get you all the time, do Do you think that's the right order, in your opinion?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're talking about in the center back position, just Noah Allen and Falcone always starting.
Yeah,
And then basically Lujan behind them. And then you got Toto Aviles behind Lujan.
correct. Was that?
Yeah, I
Do you
think,
agree with that?
yeah, I absolutely agree with it. Now, the thing is, Toto Aviles, in my opinion, he has better features than Gonzalo Lujan in terms of his size. He also has an ability to be able to stretch a little bit further for stronger tackles. He is a stronger tackler because he tends to get a lot of yellow cards because he plays so physical, which is a good thing at center back. But it also becomes a bigger risk. We might have a chance where he might be more of a riskier play based on his physicality.
Yeah, there's no doubt that he has a yellow card connection that kind of haunts him around everywhere. I will say I do think that's a little overrated. I think he's only gotten maybe one, maybe two like second yellows. So he's learned how to play on a yellow card. And it's not as bad as giving up a goal and getting a yellow card. So
Yes.
that said, this is a player, in my opinion, who over the first year and a half of his time in Inter Miami, I thought got better every month. Like every month you could see he was a better player and a better player and a better player. And I do feel kind of bad for him because Inter Miami is not in a position right now and doesn't really have a coaching staff right now that's hyper focused on development. And I think Aviles is sort of a victim of that.
Yes.
Okay. Getting to our individual awards. My first award, the Little Engine That Can't award. What do you think?
I mean, I would go immediately with El Motorcito, Rodrigo de Paul. I mean, because he just hasn't been able to.
You know, they call him El Motorcito, which is the little motor, not because he is the little motor, but because he has a little motor. I want your opinion on this guy because he was supposed to be as good as all of these other superstars and also younger and high energy, big time presser, work rate, and then still bringing the quality. And I feel like it's been one of the most underwhelming players we've seen in some time for Inter Miami.
I mean, we were basically loaned a lemon at this point. Like he is essentially all rev and no run. So, I mean, in my opinion, with him and the expectation that was to come for him, it's just unacceptable. And people try in the last show that we just did, someone mentioned that he is better than any other player that just joined the MLS, and they don't recognize that Son just came in and literally has been taking over games. And the fact that Rodrigo de Paul, is coming in off of Atletico Madrid as this motorcito, like a Diego Gomez plus, and he's performing like a Diego Gomez minus 100 is just unacceptable. And excusing it by saying he's playing on the right side, that's also unacceptable as well, because he's been playing more centrally recently.
Yeah, he only played like 2 games where he was really asked to be a right-sided midfielder. If you go back and look at the heat maps, he's been a central midfielder. And it's the energy, it's the precision on his pass. It's not like a fit issue, in my opinion. You know, you mentioned he was in the way of maybe a Messi opportunity earlier. Those types of things I can forgive as a chemistry issue. He's going to get better. He's going to sort of become a bigger part of the team and understand how to play with these guys. But the energy levels being low, the intensity, the effort, that's, I think, maybe the most disappointing thing, especially the defensive work rate. Maybe 3 or 4 of these goals you can give him some of the blame for, and he was supposed to be absolute juggernaut in the midfield. Obviously, when we're talking about players coming into MLS, there's been dozens of better players that have come in, maybe dozens of better players that have come in since the summer transfer window. But even for Inter Miami, as Sean said, that he's worse than Redondo right now. He's worse than 2023 Benjamin Kremaski, certainly 2024 Diego Gomez.
Yes.
He is locked into the 11 for 90 minutes every game, and he's not outplaying Yannick Bright. I don't know if you would say he's better than like a Telasco Segovia right now, who is on the bench lately because De Paul is playing.
Well, the one thing that bothers me is when I say that there's this high expectation, I'm not anticipating him to play like Messi. I'm anticipating to see him look like he can play with Messi. There's a key difference there. And I want to make sure that that's apparent, that I'm not expecting him to be this contributor of goals, but I mean, I want him to look like he belongs with the top 4 players.
Well, we sold Diego Gomez for 18 million and we're going to buy Rodrigo de Paul for 17 million. That seems like they should be a similar talent level player.
Yes.
And Diego Gomez was wrecking games, and Rodrigo de Paul probably would have been my worst player of the game because he is a liability defensively and through the midfield, and he's not providing enough. I get what you're saying, that he's not going to be Messi, he's not going to be a huge goal contributor, but maybe if he was doing some of those things, you could forgive some defensive issues. You could put him in a higher place and put someone behind him that can do the defensive work. But that's not what he is either. So I really am nervous about this Rodrigo de Paul move because it hasn't looked good so far.
Yeah, and just seeing him interchange often with Bright and Busquets, where he's like up high, but then in the center of them, and then sometimes he's all the way in the back by the center backs. Like, I understand the idea that Mascherano wants those 3 to sort of interchange and have the sort of same functions and understand everybody else's function, but I don't think that works necessarily for Rodrigo de Paul.
One thing that I will say my co-host Sor has urged me to do is to give him time to adapt. Do you think he's going to get better over time? Like, do you think he'll be better next season? Like, dramatically?
Okay. So I believe he will. I would like to think so, because I'd like to be able to see him take this league a little bit more serious. I think he's got a little bit of Gonzalo Higuain in him, thinking that this was going to be summer camp or something. And you could just tell that the effort is not there. I think if you were to put him back with Atletico Madrid, you'd probably see a lot more effort out of him. And you just don't, I don't see it in these games that he's playing.
I hope you're right. And more importantly, I hope he has that moment. I really thought coming in, because Messi and Suárez and Busquets and Alba did take it seriously, they would force De Paul to also take it seriously. But I agree with you. I do feel like there's maybe a lack of seriousness from him. Okay.
Absolutely.
Your first award, debut award for Kris on the Driving Dialogue. What do you got for me?
So I'm going to start off with my right hand red, left foot green award.
My right hand red, left foot green award. This is about what's the name of the game? It's
Twister.
Twister, thank you. It was escaping me for a second. This, as Sean said, could be Ian Frey because he was on his butt making plays. But it could also be Luis Suarez because he had that body control of some fine wine. I'm going to go Ian Frey because he was on his butt playing Twister.
Yeah, you got it. It's Ian Frey for that award, right hand red, left foot green award. Listen, on that play of the 4th goal, he was playing the best defense on his back and standing up. And the fact that players like Baltasar or others weren't able to contribute just a quarter of that effort that he gave. If you look back at the replay after the goal is scored, Ian Frey punches the air with such ferocity that you could tell, because of the effort he just exerted, the fact that a goal was conceded, it's just blasphemy, I imagine, him in his eyes.
Yeah, I agree. And good award, by the way.
Thank you.
We talked about how there was a lack of intensity in terms of getting back defensively, especially in defensive transition. I thought that applied to Chelo Wagon, and I didn't think for a second it applied to Ian Frey. I thought there was a intensity that he brought in the second half, and especially on that fourth goal, which is what we're talking about here. Him and Noah Allen, you can see the level of effort that they put into that play, whereas De Paul, whereas Baltasar, whereas Sergio Busquets, it was, they kind of jog back into the box, but then when it's time to go make it difficult for the opposition and get in their face, they're kind of just watching. And that was hugely disappointing. So Ian Frey, I have nothing but good things to say about his performance today. He had a nice shot that on another day could have been a goal too.
And I want to add this before we move to the next award. When it comes to Ian Frey, he's looked at in terms of the right back position as a player that's not as defensive minded or defensively agile as Chelo Weigand, and just in that one play showed more effort than I saw out of Chelo, which, by the way, I think, honestly, I didn't see too bad of a game for Chelo. He was just very meh, Yeah,
I understand. And I think last year, Chelo Weigand was playing a lot over Ian Frey, and we were trying so hard, not necessarily two of us, but as an Inter Miami community, trying so hard to figure out why. And people would say things like, oh, he's a better defender, because it's sometimes harder to tell the nuance of defensive play. But Ian Frey is a significantly better defender than Chelo Weigand. He's a good defender for a right back, and to pair that with what he has going forward, it's really impressive. He's a great young prospect. And the effort and energy and all that stuff. So also, one thing I will notice on that play, Brian Gutierrez, it's a couple of players from the Chicago Academy that have come in and made the difference for them. That was all of Chicago's substitutes yesterday in the second half, aside from Zinchenko at halftime. And then it was Ian Frey and Noah Allen that were bringing the effort for Inter Miami. It wasn't sort of some of the imports. So something that I did make note of. Okay, my next award is the Details at Retail Award.
That's a good one. Details at Retail. That's Details at Retail Award. I'm trying to think, and I'm gonna go with Messi. I'm gonna go with Messi on that one, just for the simple fact of maybe missing a couple details in terms of maybe on some, free kicks, on some strikes.
The award goes to Baltasar Rodriguez.
Okay, nice.
And here's why. Because almost every game Baltasar plays, he has something that looks really nice. And you could go in there, walk by and think, man, I want to buy that. Some retail service person would come and say, this is beautiful, you want this. But man, you look at some of the details sometimes, and you look at the price or the packaging or whatever, and you start to think, if only you could get this part of your game right, you could be a really, really impressive player. I get what people see in Baltasar, the aggressiveness, the technical ability, the burst, and hyper athleticism in short areas. Like, he is an exciting prospect, but some of the switch offs, both mentally and physically, defensively and through structure of play, are so frustrating to watch, because they are really levels below what you would expect from people in the MLS, especially in his defensive work, his ability to position his body to stay on balance, to keep guys in front of him. And then in the effort aspect, especially on that fourth goal, I think he's an exciting prospect. But man, if you could just get the last details right, it would be a really, really nice player. And that's what's keeping him from being special, in my opinion.
Well, and I want to ask you a question, but before I ask the question, I want to touch up on Robert Taylor real quick, because Robert Taylor played the same position, but at least he would track back on defense, and you could tell that he gave a lot of effort on both sides of the ball. And it's like you said, Baltasar shows a lot of flashes, and he shows a lot of skill on the ball, but his his lack of defensive awareness or effort is a little concerning. And the question I have is, does he remind you a little bit of Facundo Farias? Because to me, he has very Facundo Farias sort of skill sets where he could be flashy, he could push the ball up. He's very good with the ball at his feet. And Facundo Farias wasn't that great on defense either. So I feel like we just changed one Argentine for the other.
Maybe. You know what I will say, though, for Farias's benefit is that he would always play as a winger in a 4-3-3 because we had Dixon Arroyo and Kremaski and Busquets as like a real midfield to sort of protect in transition. He wasn't asked to do as much defensively. Baltasar in this sort of weird 4-4-2, like he does have to be a defensive player in a way. And remember, we didn't have Suárez back then either, so our striker was more involved defensive. Like he wasn't asked to be so defensive. So I don't know. Maybe I'd have to go rewatch a little Farias highlights, but there might be something there. And by the way, for Baltasar's sake, you can't become a professional soccer player if you're going to have moments like that, because as exciting as I think he is with the little moments, he's not excellent enough to just be a non-factor defensively.
Well, and not only that, but then when you get Segovia, who can mildly do the same things and also exerts a little bit more on defense, obviously not this last game, but generally speaking, you start to see that, hey, maybe I want to see Segovia out there a little bit more. In my opinion, between the two, I do think that Baltasar works better with people like Messi and Luis Suárez. So I would prefer to see Baltasar over Segovia for the remainder of the season. But that's why I said those two at that position, in my opinion, is probably the most competitive on the entire pitch. Because Ian Frey has robbed the right back position completely. The center backs.
Whoa. I resent the word robbed. He earned that absolutely 100%.
Oh, for sure. I mean, but it was absolutely gifted to him by Mascherano. It was gifted to Lujan, not to Lujan, to Cello. And Ian Frey had to basically muscle his way to get it.
No, I hear what you're saying, and we've seen some real battles this year. I still think the center back battle maybe just ended in the last week or two. We saw a lot of Redondo versus Yannick Bright earlier in the season, and Kremaski trying to fight his way in. So maybe this is the next aspect, and it'll be interesting when Silvetti comes back. If maybe there won't be enough time for there to be a real competition, but for Baltasar, you know what it is? I think maybe also if you bring him on in 30 minutes left and he's got energy and it's just all aggression, all intensity, all offense, like that also feels like it could be a real weapon. So here's a question while we have you. Sean asks, Baltasar's on loan. Would you buy him after the loan? Would you buy him?
I wouldn't, because I'm kind of concerned about his injury history. He was pretty close to sitting in an incubator right next to Alan Obando. So I don't know if that's a smart move to bring Baltasar. I feel like we can probably hit the market and get someone with equal talent and can probably not be out for a month plus.
I'm with you. I think it's the injury. I like him as a prospect. I think he's intriguing, but the injury thing is tough because he did miss 80% of the season. And now that he's playing, you kind of forget that. But okay, second and final award. What you got for me, Kris?
So the second and final award that I'll give is You Miss Christoph Yet award.
Oh, God. This is going to Gonzalo Lujan, and the answer is I do miss Christoph.
Yes, it's absolutely going to Gonzalo Lujan. And it's weird because Christoph was the one guy that everybody was just like, we need this guy out immediately. But to see someone younger, more athletic, and Argentine to be failing so poorly, literally, we're paying him like a gajillion dollars. I don't even know. I looked at the contracts earlier this week, and I think we're paying him like a gajillion dollars. and he doesn't deserve not even the amount that Yannick Bright earns.
100% agree, man. For the record, he's on 800,000 salary, which is more than Kristoff, more than Kamal Miller, more than all these defenders that everyone complained about, and he's the worst.
That's 10 times more than Yannick Bright.
I know. He's the worst, in my opinion, in terms of like talent and ability. He's the worst real center back Inter Miami's had ever in terms of actual ability and the amount of games he's played. We've had maybe some worse players, but they got 3 or 4 games. They were a bench piece at backup. Like Lujan, considering how much he started, is just a disaster. I hope they can get rid of him this winter. Truly, I do.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Okay. Anyone else you want to talk about? Did you have any other awards?
Well, I did have another award, but it was for Rodrigo de Paul.
Okay, what was it? Was it creative and fun,
it was
or do you want to
move
on now that you don't have to?
Well, it was All Rev No Run Lemon Certified Award. That's what it was.
Okay, you want the Lemon Law? Send it back.
Yeah, Lemon Law, send him back immediately.
I do think there's a lot of players that underwhelming performances. I want to give Sergio Busquets credit. I thought he was pretty solid, like had a pretty positive game. But I don't think we could get away without talking about Messi's performance. I don't know if we've seen him be around the ball as much and have a worse performance this season, at least. We've seen him a couple times sort of ghost, and maybe when he's come back from injury and stuff. But for like a fully healthy and seemingly informed Messi to play like that, I thought was pretty surprising.
And not only that, but it's just, I mean, look, he is the best player on the pitch. And the fact that we have to sort of depend on him and his Messi magic, it's kind of defeating, to be honest, because there is going to be a point in the future where we're not going to have him. And so that's very concerning. Like, can we live without him being at his best? Like, I would say he was maybe like 80%, 90% at his best, and we still did not win the game. That's kind of concerning, and we still have like other players alongside of him. I did see that he had 10 shots on target, and I see he let me see here. Was it 10 shots on target? He was 20% in shots on target. He made a lot of touches in the opposition box. I mean, he was effective and he was dangerous. But the fact that he wasn't connecting, it's kind of scary.
Yeah, just for the record, 10 total shots, 2 on target, 5 off target, 3 shots blocked, only 2 saved, and then of course he hit the post one time. That's my point though is I don't think we've ever seen him be that involved and then also kind of ineffective. And maybe it wouldn't bother me if we didn't see him be frustrated and maybe get worse as the game went on. That final shot he had where he skies it 30 yards high, that maybe was the most concerning thing to me because it was really like
a frustration
in his
shot.
head, a frustration in his head, and he's getting worse because he's trying too hard. So not a great game for Messi, but I don't really have any worries about him moving forward. Yeah.
I don't think anybody's really worried in terms of like his performance. It's just this game, I wouldn't say it was a poor game for Messi. I'd give him like a 7 of 10 in this game, but it's just like he's the greatest player in the world. And you get a 7-10 from the greatest player and you have some other greats on the team. It doesn't feel comfortable to sit with a result like this with these pieces around him.
Yeah, I think maybe you're being a little more generous than I am because I thought it was subpar for Messi, even by his standards. You're right, he was involved though.
Yeah.
But again, not anything I'm worried about moving forward.
Yeah.
Also, we talked about Aviles. Cello, I agree with you. Maybe not the best getting back, but he was fine. Noticeable improvement when Fred came on, but that's not Cello's fault. And I did think
He
once they
actually
got the subs on, they were better.
and he actually pushed the pace in the beginning of the game. He was up there at certain points in the game,
Cello?
advancing the ball. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, he's not the best in that regard, but at least you could tell that he's aware that Ian Frey has that as a difference maker between him and Ian Frey. So he made it from what I see, he made it a point to sort of progress the ball forward and be active on the offensive side.
Yeah. And I don't have no criticism of Cello. In fact, in the 17th minute, there's a moment where he kind of floats the ball over the top to Messi, and Messi
Yeah.
kind of pushes, he kind of like taps it, leaves it off for Suarez.
Mhm.
Suarez hits it
Yes.
just wide, but that would have been a play that could have been a goal, and it would have been started by Cello. So I agree. I don't have too much blame towards Cello in this game or criticism of his game. Okay. Let's talk about some big picture things because I think it's always important when you lose a trophy, and I know you maybe don't consider the Supporter Shield a trophy, but it is certainly a goal. I think it is an achievement worth pursuing if it kind of is in your path. And as of 2 days ago, I thought it was in their path. And with 4 games to go, I know these guys are ultra competitive. They wanted it. Mascherano would have wanted it. Messi would have wanted it. They did not go into last night's game thinking it's okay if we lose. It's okay if we drop points here. This was a must-win game. They couldn't pull, just as Saturday was, they couldn't make it happen. And so I think trophy gone, no CONCACAF Champions Cup, no Leagues Cup, no Supporters Shield, no Open Cup. A lot of baskets in the MLS Cup, and maybe we'll have a different tune. But where are you at with Inter Miami? Are you?
I mean, it's
How you feeling? How you feeling?
well, I don't think it's a lot of baskets. I feel like all the eggs are just in one whole thing because at this point, I feel like it's been a failure this year. I feel so far it's been a failure. We had a easy sort of path in the CCC. I didn't see us winning anything too much in the Club World Cup. I feel like we got as far as we could in that. In Leagues Cup, I felt like that was something that we were able to go ahead and win. The Supporter Shield, yeah, I mean, it's not seen as like this trophy, right? It's rotatable. Other teams get it every single year unless you repeat, right? We get it back. But in my opinion, I think that that's better just for home field advantage sake. It's not to be like, oh, we have this extra piece of hardware, sitting in Jorge Mas's office or whatever. I just think the failures before that and the Mas brothers guaranteeing and saying things like, we're going to win multiple trophies. And here we are, empty-handed, with this way that we look about to approach the playoffs. That says a lot.
Yeah, I think for me, the thing is Inter Miami doesn't develop their young players, or at least hasn't in 2025. They didn't really get the best coach they could get. They lost some of their depth, maybe unnecessarily. There's guys spitting on people. There's sort of disagreements between players and the coaching staff. It doesn't feel like a healthy organization. And the idea is it won't matter because we're just going to do so much winning. Everyone's going to be happy. And then as soon as the winning doesn't happen, it's like, well, actually, the spitting does matter. Like, that's not okay. It's not cool. It's not fun to be a fan of that team. It's not fun to be a fan of Yannick Bright being told he can't play 90 minutes and then being asked the next day about it and him saying, why wouldn't I be able to play 90 minutes? Things like that. The favoritism, the inability seemingly to take your star players out for a single minute of a game, things like that, the coaching decision. And it does feel like a house of cards that if you win, it stays up. And as soon as you don't, man, all the cracks really show. And it's easy to blame all of them for why it didn't go well, because I think this is an extremely talented roster on paper, even after they've lost some important pieces. Last night, they have a better starting 11, even though maybe you don't love Lujan, maybe you didn't love rotation. That is still a better starting 11 on paper than what Chicago Fire put out. I think you're on mute.
1,000%.
No, you're okay. So
No, it's just that the connection was kind of like kicking around. Sorry about that.
no, it's okay. So what do you think about this team going forward in 2025? Just 2025. Do you think they can pull it together? Do you feel any confidence going into the playoffs? Do you feel like, I mean, I kind of agree with you that it might already be a failure, but do you think the team can be resilient in this moment?
I mean, I feel like winning the MLS Cup is going to cure everything. It is going to basically say, regardless of what we lost throughout the season, we won the biggest trophy. And now you can go buy a kit with a star on top of the logo, right? So I think it does cure all, but I think that there's major concerns when it comes to who are we signing? How long are we signing them for? Like, I still have no idea who Chris Henderson's replacement is. There's been like 4 or 5 people in the same chair in the last like 6 months, so that is something that's a little concerning as well. That's like the biggest flaw in terms of like the front office and all that stuff. But I do think that the MLS Cup, winning it, is going to cure everything, and everybody's going to be okay with not winning the Leagues Cup, which we won already, or the Supporters Shield, which we won already. So,
Yeah, as I said, I think if you win, the house stays standing upright.
yes.
And especially in that moment, because just like I was a week ago after NYCFC, man, they're building into something. I feel so good about it. I'm so excited about it. If they can do that through the playoffs, we're all going to be on cloud 9 as it happens. Do you think it's going to happen?
I do. I do think that we're going to be able to muster up a couple wins. I don't think we're going to win against Nashville in terms of like the remainder of the regular season. But I do think that we're going to be able to muster up a couple more wins to be able to feel decently comfortable enough to run into the playoffs with some decent mojo.
Yeah, but getting to the playoffs. Listen, last year we won our last game 6-2. We were feeling great about it.
Yes.
And then, Atlanta happened. So
and then Brad Guzan
happened, and we had a couple injuries. And that team, I thought, was much more resilient than what we have this season. I thought that team was much better and capable of getting goals from different places and figuring out how to be, it was a better defensive team last year. And I will also say the Eastern Conference is better this year. Like every team in the Eastern Conference that's going to make the playoffs can beat Inter Miami. And I'm not sure that was the case last season. So I'm pretty nervous about it. If you don't mind, a couple of things that came through the chat over the course of this conversation that I thought maybe we could talk about for a minute or two. Sean asks, was getting rid of Drake the right choice? And I'd love to get your opinion on it.
I think it was probably one of the worst decisions that this organization has made, especially considering the fact that you have Rocco, who, I mean, he was like 3rd or 4th string keeper for Atlanta. I think we picked him up off of like a USL team before. And then you got Yarborough, who was like 5 minutes away from probably jumping on somebody's yacht and just not having a job. He's also signed out of nowhere. And I don't want to give Yarborough too much business here because like I feel like he hasn't had an opportunity to be able to show anything. And like he was a good goalkeeper at some point, but you can't give up Drake Callender with those guys behind Ustadi.
Well,
like that's
I guess the question is
reckless.
not about, I don't think it's about the depth, because if your plan is to make Drake the backup, then that's not necessarily the right way to handle Drake. And I think Will Yarbrough is more than capable of being the 3rd string goalkeeper. The question really is moving on from Drake in favor of Ustadi. How did you feel about that as it happened, and how are you feeling about it now?
Well, I didn't feel like Ustadi was a better goalkeeper than Drake Callender. I feel like Drake Callender just 1,000 times is better than Ustadi as a goalkeeper. I can care less about how far you can kick the ball or how accurate you could do it. And I'm pretty sure after practicing a little bit, he's going to get better at it. What he offers over Ustadi is something that Ustadi is drastically sort of missing and or lacking as a goalkeeper. Like, you're supposed to be the keeper of goals. That's like the name of your position, not the kicker of balls.
Yeah,
And on
I
top of
don't
that, he
know.
keeps it more competitive.
You mean having both of them on the roster?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I've hashed this conversation out so many times, so I will just thank you for your opinion and maybe leave it at there. I know we have some viewers that get very, you know, really support their guy, and I totally get that.
I mean, they can support the guy, but he's still a walking garbage bag as a goalkeeper. I mean, sorry. I don't, if I
It's
just
okay,
fully
it's okay.
attacked the same people you're trying to.
And then the other one I saw that I thought was really interesting, and I wanted to get your impression on this because I do not see a lot of people talk about this. But Miami Kings asks or says we don't have a good group of young players, and I want to know if you have been tracking this, keeping this in mind, because a year ago, 18 months ago, we had the best group of young players in the MLS, and this was evident. And Soren and I will have a conversation about this next week. But last year in the 22 under 22, which is the MLS sort of best players under 22, Inter Miami had 5 players, dominated that list with Gomez and Redondo and Kremaski and David Ruiz, and Toto Aviles was on that list, not including players like Ian Frey, didn't include Noah Allen, who sort of broke out right at the very end. Inter Miami had as good, or Yannick Bright for that matter, Inter Miami had as good of a group of young players as anyone in the MLS. And here we are a year later, and it does feel like Inter Miami doesn't really have that same group because maybe some of it's Obando's been injured and Silvetti hasn't had a chance to make an impact really yet. But Kremaski's gone, Redondo's gone, David Ruiz has been left by the wayside seemingly. Toto Aviles has been left by the wayside, even though he was in that list a year ago. And at the same time, we're complaining about a lack of rotation, too many minutes on these sort of Suarez's legs, too many minutes on Busquets, Rodrigo de Paul, whoever it is, because David Ruiz doesn't get any opportunities. How do you feel about, and I will also add, nobody has come through in the last year. Santi Morales and Tyler Hall, like maybe Israel Boatwright or Brian Destin or something like that. Like, they haven't even been a factor, really. What do you make of that? How do you feel about that?
Well, what's this guy, this striker that signed from IMCF2? The one that came in and then we started winning because of his presence. I forgot what his name is. Yes, Daniel Pinter. And I mean, but look at the names that you mentioned. Like, you're aware of these people, Boatwright, Tyler Hall. Like, David Ruiz, in my opinion, was better than Benjamin Kremaki, more skilled on offense, better and more patient defensively. And in my opinion, I thought that he was going to have a better career than Benjamin Kremaki here in Inter Miami. I think the fact that we don't know too many players from IMCF2, it's a fair question that Miami King is asking, because these players that you just mentioned, they've been sort of in the stratosphere the last couple years.
And you can almost understand while they're
go ahead.
Why Santi Morales, for example, I think did have to grow up a little physically, build into his body, but he seems like he's there now. We saw him a couple moments earlier this season, and he looked like he could hang. And that not turning into any real opportunities this season, I think, is a huge disappointment. And by the way, I will add, for those that don't know, South Florida is as talent-rich of an area as any in the country, and even some of the brightest young prospects on other teams are actually from South Florida. Inter Miami should be dominating the academy market. And it did seem for a couple years, especially under Henderson, that we were going to sign 2 or 3 of these guys basically every single year, and they were going to come and be a part of the team. And some of them might not make it, like Edison Ascona. Maybe it wasn't quite good enough for Inter Miami, but they're going to get a chance, and we're going to see what they've got and see if they actually have it. And that seemingly has just disappeared this season. And I think that's incredibly underwhelming and disappointing.
And I think the fact that Henderson was a former player also helps. Edison Ascona, I really liked him. I mean, it sucks that he didn't get too many opportunities, and now he's with like the Las Vegas, I don't know who's, but he was doing pretty well out there in the USL playing for Las Vegas, whoever the.
I saw him. I watched him play against Mexico in the maybe the Gold Cup this summer, and he looked like he belonged against the Mexican national team.
Yes. Yes.
So I agree with you. I think there's something there. But that said, like even if he got 10, 12 opportunities to come and play and see if he was good enough, and then you do that enough times, and you are going to get David Ruiz's, who is good enough, and Kermaski's, who is good enough. And by the way, I'm singling out the academy kids, but I also want to add some of our U22s: Alan Obando, Baltazar Rodriguez, Toto Aviles. Like these guys have not gotten a ton of opportunities this year, and I think that has a lot to do with the coaching staff, but maybe even more the culture. Yes. And that's pretty unfortunate.
And it's sad to see when you have Javier Mascherano, who's apparently coming from this world of coaching U20s and relating to the younger players. And you got players that he's not playing that apparently he's, coached at some point.
Yeah, well, I think that was certainly the case with Toto Aviles, and he didn't seem to favor Redondo by the end there. I'm not sure that was, the dream move Redondo had planned. So anyways, maybe we should wrap it up there. Is there anything else? Do you have any like confidence or positive ways to end this episode? Or is it we're about 4 weeks away from really thinking, let's have a better offseason this year and maybe clean some house?
So I do think that we're still going to win the next 2 games. I do fear that we're not going to win against Nashville. I'm looking forward to seeing Campana this coming Saturday. Hopefully he scores a goal, but that we score more goals. And that's another player. Like we just completely dropped the ball giving him up, where having him behind Luis Suárez would have helped for some time.
Yeah, I do think maybe there's a world where if you replace him well, you think to yourself, I'm really happy that we did right by him and he got to go be a starter. Yeah. But we didn't replace him well. And
no,
that's also on the front office and the coaching staff. And here we are.
Whoever that guy is in the front office.
Yes.
Playing Where's Waldo?
I don't know if I want to have that conversation on camera yet, but save it for another day. Kris, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Please tell everyone where they can find you.
Check me out at the Battered Herons podcast. It's another podcast out there in this pink hemisphere, and check out the Battered MLS fans as well. We do some MLS work as well, and maybe you'll see like a Battered Knicks fan, right? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Battered Yankees fans. Although I don't know if that would really fit the theme. What I will say is
Danny does one, so you might see it.
Does he? Okay.
Yes.
What I will say is that no one is just ready to talk Inter Miami all the time more than these guys. So go give them, check them out if you haven't already. And Kris, thank you so much for coming, and hopefully you'll be back soon.
Yes, it was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, guys, have a wonderful night. We'll be back for the pregame show on Saturday. If not, I know emergency news coming sooner, but until then, I hope you guys have a lovely week, and we'll see you guys next time. Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Since our first viewer, sharing this with you all has been the very best part. So from the beginning until the end, thank you for being a part of this, and have a wonderful day.